Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we are going to dive into a mystery that literally challenges everything we thought we knew about human history. We are exploring the Indus Valley Civilization. This was a highly advanced, incredibly sophisticated Bronze Age society that, well, seemingly vanished without a trace. It is an absolutely fascinating story, so let's just jump right in.
Okay, to start off, I want you to picture something for a second. Imagine a sprawling, meticulously planned city. We're talking straight streets, laid out in a perfect grid, homes with private indoor toilets, and covered sewer systems efficiently carrying waste away. Now, when you picture that level of modern urban infrastructure, what era comes to mind? The 1800s? Maybe the peak of the Roman Empire?
Well, try 5,000 years ago. No, seriously, over 5 millennia ago in South Asia, this astonishing level of sophistication was just everyday reality for millions of people. It's the kind of fact that sparks this profound sense of awe, but it also sets up a massive historical plot twist. How could a society this advanced simply disappear from the face of the earth, leaving behind buried cities and a language we still can't read? So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover the discovery of a lost world, their master builders and urban planners, the remarkably peaceful and egalitarian society, the totally undeciphered Indus script, and finally, the Great Indus Collapse. Section 1. Discovery of a Lost World. The accidental discovery of Harappa. You know, it's wild to think that this massive civilization laid completely forgotten by humanity for thousands of years. And the story of its rediscovery? It's straight out of an adventure movie. Back in 1829, there was this soldier named James Lewis. He had deserted the British East India Company army and was basically traveling undercover using the alias Charles Masson. While wandering through the Punjab region, he literally stumbled upon these massive, half-buried ruins. He took meticulous notes, drew sketches of the area, but what he didn't realize at the time was that he hadn't just found an old run-of-the-mill fort. He had accidentally discovered Harappa, a metropolis belonging to an entirely unknown ancient civilization. But get this, it actually took almost another century for the world to fully grasp what Lewis had found. It wasn't until the 1920s that archaeologists, like John Marshall from the Archaeological Survey of India, realized the true, staggering scale of the site. They mapped out this incredible timeline, starting from early farming settlements at Mehrgarh all the way back in 7000 BCE, peaking in this mature, highly urbanized phase around 2600 BCE, and then a sudden, mysterious decline kicking off around 1900 BCE. Which brings us to Section 2. Master Builders and Urban Planners, the Modernity of the Ancients. During that mature phase, the most crucial thing to understand is the sheer scale of it all. We aren't just talking about a couple of isolated, dusty towns. Archaeologists have uncovered over 1,400 sites belonging to the Indus Valley Civilization spread all across present-day Pakistan, Afghanistan, and northwest India. At its peak, this civilization sustained a population estimated to be between 4 and 6 million people. That is a massive footprint for the ancient world. And these megacities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, they featured urban innovations that are just mind-blowing. We see perfect grid street layouts. The houses were multi-storied, built around these nice inner courtyards, and constructed using baked bricks of highly standardized sizes. But the real shocker is the hygiene. Almost every single home had a private indoor toilet and a bathing area, and these were connected to a sophisticated, covered drainage and sewer system running right under the streets. Guys, they even had public dust bins. Their sanitation systems completely surpassed anything seen in the ancient world. Honestly, they rival some modern-day infrastructure. And nothing hits the nail on the head regarding their engineering prowess quite like the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro. It's an enormous 900-square-foot public swimming pool, constructed with precisely burnt bricks and, get this, it was waterproofed using natural tar. It featured a proper drainage hole and its own dedicated freshwater well. This right here perfectly illustrates a society that placed an incredibly high value on public health, hygiene, and maybe even ritual cleanliness. Let's move to Section 3, a peaceful, egalitarian society, an empire without kings? Okay, prepare to have your expectations of what an ancient empire is supposed to look like completely subverted. When you compare the Indus Valley to its contemporaries, like ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, the differences are just night and day. In Egypt and Mesopotamia, you see monumental palaces, absolute monarchs like pharaohs, lavish royal tombs, and plenty of evidence of warfare and standing armies. But in the Indus Valley, we find relatively egalitarian housing where almost everyone had access to water and drainage. Instead of royal palaces, we find massive public baths. We have found zero evidence of a monarch, no royal tombs, and virtually no weapons have been found. The cities weren't even fortified against massive invasions, but rather just against river floods. It appears to have been a remarkably peaceful, equal society.
So you might be wondering, without kings swinging swords and commanding armies, how did they govern millions of people? Well, the answer seems to be trade and unparalleled standardization. Instead of military might, it looks like an organized central authority focused heavily on economics. They created uniform shirt weights based on this precise 5-to-1 ratio. They even engineered the smallest recorded measurement of the entire Bronze Age at exactly 1.704 millimeters. That level of exactness tells us they were a highly cooperative society, bound together by massive, standardized, and peaceful trade networks rather than by force.
This brings us to Section 4, the Undeciphered Indus Script, History's Unsolved Puzzle.
Now, to truly understand these people, we really need to hear their own words. But here's the catch. We can't. The script remains undeciphered. However, researchers have discovered some fascinating patterns. First off, we know they wrote from right to left. How? Because characters on the left side of their stamp seals are often cramped together, like the writer was running out of space at the end of the line. We know there are over 400 distinct signs. We also know their texts were frequently formatted directly above a large carving of an animal, often this mysterious unicorn-like creature. And, amazingly, a specific jar-shaped symbol almost always pops up at the very end of a sequence, acting almost exactly like a full stop or punctuation mark.
Because there are over 400 signs, linguists categorize this as a logosyllabic script. That's just a fancy way of saying it's a writing system where a single symbol represents an entire word or a specific sound, very much like Egyptian hieroglyphs. The big problem we face today is that we just haven't found a bilingual Rosetta Stone to help us crack the code. But in a really brilliant twist, archaeologists actually found Indus script seals all the way over in distant Mesopotamia. But wait, there's a catch. The Mesopotamians seemingly used the Indus script to write their own distinct language for trade. We know this because the grammar patterns found on seals in Mesopotamia, like seeing that mysterious jar symbol appear twice in a row, never ever happen in the Indus Valley itself. It's like a giant puzzle.
And finally, Section 5, the Great Indus Collapse, the Quiet Disappearance.
This is where things get a bit tragic. It's a tantalizing mystery, but between 1900 BCE and 1300 BCE, this incredible, bustling society simply faded away. So, what happened to them? The truth is, we impartially report on several competing theories here because there really is no single confirmed answer yet. Leading theories include major tectonic shifts that caused crucial rivers, like the Ghagar-Hakra system, to change course or dry up entirely. Another big theory points to shifting monsoon patterns that led to catastrophic, prolonged droughts. Some scientists even suggest widespread deforestation, basically the result of burning millions of wood fires to bake all those standardized bricks, eventually ruined their environment. Finally, the dense urban nature of their cities could have made them super vulnerable to a fatal contagious disease, wiping out the population. What we do know for sure is that the cities were slowly abandoned and fell into ruin. There is zero evidence of a violent invasion. They just quietly vanished. Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative thought. What can our modern world actually learn from an ancient society that thrived for millennia? And not through conquest or weapons or massive ego-driven monuments, but through cooperation, brilliant urban planning, and peace. The Indus Valley Civilization was a sort of ancient utopia that valued public health, equality, and sustainability. As we face our own modern challenges with changing climates and sprawling cities, perhaps the answers we so desperately need today are still buried in the 5,000-year-old grid streets of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.